David, please introduce yourself to the audience.
I'm David. We've been selling on Amazon since 2015. A few years back, when we broke the 100 million mark, we decided to start venturing into acquiring other brands and applying what we've developed in our own brand up to that point, and that worked out very well. And then we launched a few years back investment funds where, similar to real estate funds, people invest their money into them, and we use that capital to then go acquire more Amazon brands. And that's what we've been doing. We're based in Clearwater. Most of our staff is there, minus a few VAs around the world. But yeah, that's the very short of it.
Thank you. Out of all the talks this morning, what stood out to you? What did you find interesting?
I really enjoyed all the attention into sourcing the deals, and we've also been working. We have a team of 7 individuals that are working into AI in our own company, so I find that very interesting. I really loved the first guy that's exiting and what he's done. It's incredible.
And when you look at your flywheel today, what are your strengths? What are your areas that you want to improve?
I guess perhaps the ability to find more deals that fit within the criteria of what we're looking for. Yeah. And perhaps the ability to train some of our staff faster, since we operate all of the companies with our own staff. It takes quite a bit to build the teams.
Do you feel you have access to enough of the right data and the right quality to do the work on?
To some degree, as it was mentioned this morning a few times, there's a lot to do in that area. But I guess to the degree that we have relationships to people like you guys, that is the best firsthand data into the space.
And if you look back on the deals you did in 2024, how many of those came from data crunching as opposed to via brokers or banks or direct?
Every deal we've done today has come from either the owners themselves reaching out to us or brokers that know us and introduce us to the buyers.
Very good. And what are sort of tangible examples of how you're using AI for the audience?
Well, this has just started literally last week, but we are looking at how we can do more marketing with it, how we can optimize some of the data gathering that we currently dump into other software so we can analyze faster. That's where we're starting. Then we want to go into a little bit of video creation. Yeah.
I'll open up for questions in a moment. As you look ahead to 2025, what quantum of deal flow would you be looking to execute?
Well, we've been moving mainly in deals under 30 million. We've been working all of last year to put out an infrastructure in place where we can move into closing on deals that are 50 to 100 million. So I think before halfway mark of this year, we'd like to be moving into that niche.
Very good. Questions from the audience?
Not all at once.
Please. So the question is, do you specialize in special product categories or portfolio types?
We have a criteria. We don't really specialize on something. There's some areas we like more than others. Once we see the company and what they're doing, and we kind of take it from there, there's a few things that we could tend to not get into because we just don't like them personally, but like clothing or things like that, so many SKUs, so many returns, so much infrastructure needed. But other than that, we'll look at almost anything.
It's exclusively FBA, right?
Yeah, we're heavy on FBA. I'd say maybe 75% of our income is FBA.
Have you done any deals that are maybe distressed or borderline distressed? And how have those processes worked out?
For the benefit of the online audience, have you done any deals that are distressed or and how have they worked out?
We've only done one. We've always focused on growing brands that are doing well and how we can contribute to that. And that's been our success. We we did one recently that was a bit of a distressed cycle, and so far so good.
It's maybe worth explaining to the audience about how you got here, right? You've been doing Amazon for a long time, right? It's not like it's a recent aggregator, so to speak. Be good to give some context, please, David.
Yeah, I mean, maybe different to most of our competitors, which might be where your question is going towards, is that we were originally Amazon sellers that started doing good. My business partner, Aaron, he's pretty smart on all terms and everything regarding to Amazon, and that's where it all came from. But as operators, I guess it became easier for us to then aggregate other Amazon brands, since this is what we know how to do. Like regarding your question of a distressed deal, if we didn't have that, I don't know that it would have been a wise decision for us. But because we do, we've been able to turn it around, and it's going really well.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Please, Nathan.
I'm like more Amazon operator, not on the finance side. So why, not in a questioning your ability kind of way, but just from understanding your thesis, why not acquire brands that are smaller in revenue and grow them?
So, sorry, just again, the question from the audience was, why not acquire smaller, maybe more micro brands as opposed to larger brands?
We started with that just to kind of like prove to ourselves that we're even able to do this. Is this going to even work? But once we started doing it, we realized it takes the same amount of work and man hours to get the $300,000 of EBITDA acquired than it takes to get the $5 million or $10 million of EBITDA acquired. So based on that, that's sort of where we started moving into the bigger deals. And then to break through the level that we're at, we're just trying to put more infrastructure in place where we can absorb something that's 50 to 100 and continue to grow that. Did that make sense? Yeah.
Thanks, Nathan. When you acquire these brands, are you looking to bring them omni-channel or stay focused on FBA?
The first thing we do is, yeah, we have a little bit of a battle plan in terms of Amazon and the potential growth that we see there. Sometimes some of them have been very well optimized. This is not common, but we find it and we like that. But we have been working on omni-channel. We've started building some really good relationships with Walmart and some of the big retailers out there, and that's starting to move. And that's how some of the income is starting to divest into other areas. Because we would have had this conversation a year ago, it would have been 98% Amazon revenue.
And you recently acquired another aggregator. Can you maybe just give some context to that deal to the audience?
Yeah. Well, what would you like to know?
Well, you won't give us terms, I'm sure, David, but this, the strategic rationale, the financial rationale, operational rationale.
Yeah, I mean, as anyone that's selling, they went to market. This specific deal had some needs that they needed to fulfill due to the situations that they were in financially. And I guess what made us a prime buyer for them was that they needed to close 100% certain. They couldn't waste a shot with a potential buyer that maybe after due diligence, they back out and now 60 days, 90 days went by. They couldn't afford that. And we've fortunately built that reputation of we've closed 100% of the LOIs we've received countersigned by buyers. And then we weren't the highest offer. We were the third highest offer. But again, they needed to close and they needed to close fast. And as you know, some people in due diligence, they might take a few months. And another kind of like the things we've earned in this space is that almost every but one of our deals, we've gone from signed LOI through due diligence to funded escrow account in under 30 days. So that kind of made us the only option for this aggregator to be able to pull the trigger. That's what they needed as a buyer.
30 days reminds me of the advert on Thrasio's website about 4 years ago.
With the difference that we do make it happen.
You well, fair play. Yeah. Are you open to acquiring other aggregators in 25?
Yeah, we're in talks with 4 of them. We ended another one that was the 5th one that is not going to go anywhere for us. And yeah, for sure.
And from an integration perspective, how do you see that? Are you just taking the brands? Are you taking the people?
So far, we've only kept one staff member of all the companies we've acquired. We're currently closing on a deal, which will be the first deal where we're probably going to keep all of their staff because we've never seen stuff like that before. But all the others that we're in conversations with, most likely we'll just take the assets and get our teams to roll with them.
And do you cherry pick the assets, or obviously the seller would prefer to sell all the assets in one block. Do you cherry pick, or?
Well, it depends on the deal, right? The seller might be like, I need to be done. Like on the last one we did, they had to be done. Like it's take all, you figure it out, kind of a deal. A couple of them we're looking at, this is what we're interested in. We don't really like these other 20 or 35 companies or whatever that is. And we like these 10 or 12. And that we had a deal where it was 69 companies and we didn't like hardly any of them because of the condition they were in. So it kind of depends.
Any further questions? Ben? Great strategic question. Where do you want to take the business? IPO, trade sale, exit?
Originally, when we started, we always talked about cash flow because it is very cash flowing. All of our investors get quarterly distributions, which are way above market. We all, as well, Aaron and I as owners get our distributions. So when we originally started, that was the idea, with enough cash flow, why walk out on something like this? And as it gets bigger, cash flow gets bigger and it gets much sexier. But a potential exit starts to get sexier when you talk to the big boys, So we'll see. Once we break a couple billion, then we can look at that point, what's there, what's on the market. If the value of money is right and the right buyer is there and the multiple, then we would entertain the conversation. If that doesn't come along, then we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Can you give a broad feeling for size at the moment in terms of rough revenue that you're managing?
We're about to break 200.
200 million. Very good.
Yeah.
And good EBITDA positive,
EBITDA, we're about, probably will close this year without any further acquisitions, right under 30 positive
30
million. Yeah.
30.
Yes.
A million and margin percentage?
Well, if you look at
Yeah,
about 15, maybe.
Yeah, very good.
A little bit under 15, right under 15.
Wow.
Like
That's quite unusual for a lot of the folks in the room.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, the space and you know what's happening. So